Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Just so we get this started and we kind of break the ice here while everybody's kind of coming in. I just wanted to ask Christine a really quick question, just a really quick question of the day, really generic question, honestly. Since the holidays are coming up, I just wanted to ask, like, what's your favorite thing to do during the holidays? May it be Thanksgiving, may it be Christmas. What's your favorite thing to do?
Okay, so this is unique to our family. I would love to know if anybody else does this because I've never heard of anyone else doing this, but we've been doing it for like decades since I was a little kid. So when I was little, my grandfather, my brother does it now, but he would take walnuts and he would use like instead of cracking them, he would take a knife and he would half them and scoop the nuts out and he would glue them back together with like coins or dollar bills and stuff inside. And then we would hang them on our Christmas tree at our family party. And everybody, we would go youngest to oldest and then backwards, oldest to youngest. Everybody got to pick two, and you got to keep whatever the money was that was inside. So
Oh my gosh.
some of them were actual walnuts, or they would be like pennies or quarters or whatever. But some of them would have like five, tens, 20s, and there's always 100 on the tree. So it's so fun because like we do it together as a family and you watch everybody open their walnuts and it's just like this fun little family game that we've been playing for
That's so cute.
yeah.
That's so fun. Like,
Yeah.
well, we do something like a little similar, but I wouldn't say it would be hidden in something. Like every year, well, like since like the pandemic, I would say like people started getting creative with Christmas here.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is like it's kind of a game every year where there's like a big bowl of just it has candies, money, whatever.
That's fun.
There would be like big ticket ones, and then you would have to be blindfolded and you have to scoop them out with like
Yeah.
a spatula. So like that's the hardest thing about it, spatula to get all of those. So it's either you get because you really don't feel it on the spatula,
Right.
the
Yeah.
weight,
You
because
don't know
it's
what you're
money, it's
getting.
bills. Yeah. So you're lifting and you don't know if you got all candy or just coins or just thin air. That's the funny
Right.
thing.
I
So
think that's fun.
that's
I
what we've
love
been
like
doing.
unique family stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really fun. We've been doing it I think since 2020 just because the start of the pandemic just ruined everybody and like
Yeah.
when the
You had to
holidays
come
came
up with
back up.
something fun. I like it.
Yeah. That was so cute. Okay, anyway, to get us started, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of TPN Tax Talks. I'm Cheska Cordero from Insightful Accountant and your host for today's webinar. For this session, we'll be talking about sorting your client list for better profit margins with the lovely Christine Gervais. I will have her introduce herself after I cover a bit of the housekeeping items, which is that CPE is not covered for this, is not offered for this session, as it is just a 30-minute webinar. If you have any questions, I want you guys to please put them in the Q&A panel, and I want you guys to be specific. Don't just let us know, like, hey, what do you mean by that? You got to let us know specifically, like, what did you mean by your money's in a bowl? You really got to tell us that. You got to ask us that just because, Christine might not get to the question immediately, like right when you put it there. And another is that you will actually be receiving a link to the recording of the session in an email, as well as a copy of the slide deck. But if you absolutely cannot wait to watch this webinar back, we'll have it on our YouTube page within 24 hours. And I will also be sending a copy of the slide deck in the chat, so you guys can just wait for that there. All right, well, that's it for me. Christine, welcome, and thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Always enjoy these, but the hard part is always me sharing my screen. Okay, hold on just 1 second. Get our slides up. Perfect. Okay. So I will make sure that I have both the chat and the question and answer box open. So feel free at any point if you have any questions to pop them in there and I will be happy to answer them. This is absolutely one of my favorite topics and I'm excited to do this one today. Just a really quick reminder, if you're not already registered, we do have our last Future Forward of 2023 coming up in just a few weeks here, December 5th and 6th. So if you're not registered yet, that is a free event. There is CPE, so go ahead and get registered. I will be doing my session on AI, and if you've attended some of my sessions earlier in this year, I have some new fun AI tips and tricks for you so that we keep it fresh. But go ahead and get registered for that one. And if you want to go grab it, Cheska, thank you so much. Just put the copy of the slide deck right in that chat for you, as well as the YouTube link. And if you're not getting our newsletter already and you want to make sure that you don't miss announcements for future events, as well as our articles on a weekly basis, you can scan that QR code right there, and it will take you right out to the subscribe page so that you make sure that you're getting all of that information on a timely basis. Again, thank you for being here. I appreciate many of you come back month to month, but if you have not been here and this is your first tax talk, my name is Christine Gervais. I've been a licensed CPA for almost 15 years now. Going into, I don't even know at this point, probably my 17th or 18th tax season. I run my own practice providing accounting and tax services. And that's really where a lot of my perspective comes from, is being a small business owner myself and just sharing with you the things that really I have found have worked really well for me, and then also not worked really well for me in the past in terms of running my own practice. And this topic today is definitely one of those things. So I would love to patent this and tell you that this was completely my idea, but it's not. I got this advice from a great business coach that I had when I first started out running my own business, and I've sort of tailored it to be my own in the process over the years. But this is something that I can tell you I do consistently every year within our business. And it really is something that I feel has been a huge catalyst to growth within our organization, but not just willy-nilly growth. It has also contributed to us, being able to charge higher fees and really value our services well. It is growth that is growing into working with clients that we really enjoy. And I really believe that this process that I'm about to walk through today is one of the really key pieces that allows us to continue to run a tax practice without requiring all of our employees to work a bunch of overtime hours and just want to be pulling our hair out whenever it's busy season. Still busy, don't get me wrong, still stressful, but certainly not what I was used to years ago when I was working for other firms. So what are some of the reasons why we want to even do this process? Why are we talking about reassessing your client list? And what are some of the benefits to actually going through this process? So you can see right here, I think that this process really helps you to address scope creep. If you're not re-looking at your engagements on an annual basis, I can almost 100% guarantee that there's scope creep going on in at least a few of them, right? And it happens really without us even thinking about it, especially if you have a team of people working for you, because you just can't be involved in every conversation with the client. And scope creep is as simple as someone asking one of your team members, hey, can you just create this, or can you just send me this, or can we just do this little thing? Can we add this to the monthly list of things that we're going to do? And it's seemingly small until we recognize that, hey, when we reassess this engagement, we're realizing that whatever the client may have asked for during the year or our staff members talk about doing for them, not in the original engagement. It's also a great opportunity to recognize where you might need to do some resets of pricing. In our practice, everything is done on a flat fee basis. We kind of use that value add model to come up with our flat fee pricing. Not every firm is the same. Some people are still hourly, some people are project based. There's all sorts of different ways that you can bill your clients. But if you're not consistently reassessing those engagements from that perspective as well, there could be some places where pricing just ends up off. We didn't know enough about it when we quoted it, things like that. It's a great opportunity to upsell services, especially if you have clients that are consistently having scope creep issues. That's a great opportunity to have that conversation around, hey, I think you would be really well served if we upsell you into this, because it's going to meet your needs, and it's not something that you're currently engaged for. And then we're going to review for client fit as well. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into how I actually do this assessment. But truly, there's something to be said for working with clients that you enjoy working with. And of course, we're not going to always just be best friends with everybody, but we all have had that client that is just there's a lot of friction in the communication. They're not somebody that you're like super comfortable getting on the phone with. No one really wants to have to be the person that's in charge of managing that relationship. And that can be really energetically draining for you and your team. So there is something to be said for assessing from that perspective as well. And I'm going to tell you how I kind of fit this into the process that I do. And I do this annually as well. You don't necessarily have to if you feel like you want to do it more or less in your own practice. But for me, doing it annually, kind of towards this third, fourth quarter has been something that has really helped me, especially like reset the baseline for the first of the year if you need to make changes to engagements and pricing, and really just go into the new year kind of clear about what it is that we're looking for. So, the basis of this whole process is that we're going to go through our whole client list and we're going to put clients in one of three boxes or circles in this case with this slide. And you could do a different rating system. The rating system itself doesn't matter as much as actually doing the process. But I have found that A, B, and C really helps me to identify the three places that I'm going to put these clients. And I'm going to tell you how, what each one of these ratings mean and which clients you're going to put into where, and then what that means from there in just a second. So, to describe for you a little bit what each one of these different categories means, A clients are like your just ideal client. Hopefully you have at least one of them that you can base this off of. But this is the client that if you could pick any client on your roster and just duplicate them, 3, 4 times over, you would be ecstatic. They have a great personality fit. They're enjoyable to work with. They appreciate all of your help. They see the value in your services. Your team enjoys working with them. Um, they're probably going to be one of your higher revenue clients as well. They're using multiple services. You're not chasing them for receivables. They will send you referrals. It's just a really nice symbiotic relationship, right? Like they enjoy working with you, you enjoy working with them. Everybody's getting paid appropriately, getting what they need. And this is a relationship that you're like, this is easy. I'm getting paid well. Everybody's happy, mutually beneficial. I want to duplicate that. So those are your A clients. I will tell you, don't be scared of this because I will tell you that usually this list is fairly short. If I was running a practice with all A clients, I would probably spend half my time on a beach in Mexico. So it's just not realistic that most of your client list is going to be made up of A's. Most of your client list should be made up of B clients, but you are going to have some of these A's. And, that is a great template for you to use going also into the new year when you're thinking about what new clients are we looking for as we continue to grow, and using that template of, well, this is what an A client looks like. So this process really helps you define what does an A client look like. And those, because we're going to talk about at the end as well, defining what you want to sort of refill this client list with, that A avatar, that A client avatar, whatever they look like for you, every firm is different. That is the going to be sort of like your holy grail of this is what we're looking to duplicate. So when we go out and seek new clients, we want to sort of test them against, is this going to be a really great fit for us? So B clients are not A clients, but they're probably going to have some A qualities. So they might be a great personality fit, but they pay you less, for less services. So they might be a smaller client, but you really enjoy working with them. They still pay their bills on time. Maybe they don't send a lot of referrals. So you're not going to put them in the C category because there's just nothing wrong with the engagement. It's great. It's just that they don't fit into the A category for whatever reason because they don't have all of those A qualities. Still a great client though. Or, maybe they're really enjoyable to work with. They always send you referrals, but you have to chase them for their bill to get paid every once in a while. So you can sort of start to see how the B clients are, again, they're not A clients. They don't have that sort of ideal client feel to them, but there's just really nothing wrong, It's not an engagement where there's any type of high level of stress or issues or concerns. They're just not the best of the best on your client list. So, your client list really is, like I said, it's going to be a lot of B clients most of the time, hopefully, a few A clients. That's kind of your cream of the crop. And then the C clients are the ones that we're going to talk about, how do we address this in terms of attrition and best fits for the firm, like most beneficial next steps for your firm going forward. So the C clients is where we start to run into some work for us to do. C clients are clients that are difficult to work with, maybe consistently arguing about price. Maybe you're always chasing them for their bill. They never pay on time. These could be clients that are always asking you to do something, but don't bill me for it. Um, your team may not enjoy working with them. They just might not be a great fit for the firm to begin with. Like let's say that you're a firm that really specializes in like closely held, businesses, and this is just like maybe a high net worth individual with no business income that you took as a favor to a friend or something, and they just don't really fit the mold for the majority of the other work that you're doing. So C clients kind of have that, a little bit of that sort of like ick feel. Like you're not excited to work on these engagements. There's been some problems in the engagement. These are the clients that we're going to talk about. How do we professionally phase them out of your client list, because we want to make room for more A and B clients. And I think that this philosophy is exactly where many of us start to feel like, well, wait a second here. The growth goal, or the revenue growth goal, does not normally involve us disengaging with clients. But I can tell you from experience in doing this for several years that if you create that space to be filled with more A and B clients and less C clients, not only are you typically going to be having higher profit margins and higher monthly billing fees with A and B clients, because the C clients are the ones that you always have to fight with on price, you're going to have a happier team too. So you're taking out some of that level of stress and anxiety and frustration off of your team's plate as well, when you remove these clients that are just like, they're not fun to work with. So there's a lot of benefits to taking the time to analyze who these C clients are and think about, how do we professionally disengage at some point in the future. I don't usually encourage you to spend a lot of time trying to make them into a B client unless they're like right there, and then maybe, okay, have an honest conversation with them. Your time is going to be more well served just saying, this isn't a good fit for us for XYZ reason. And so now, how do we remove them to make space for something more beneficial? So, kind of just the litmus test for you. When I do this and I'm done looking at my list and I have my A clients, my B clients, and my C clients, the way that I sort of approach this is my A clients are the ones that I'm like, I immediately am going to send them a thank you. And the reason that I like doing this at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, is because we start to get into the holiday, time frame, and it's a perfect opportunity for me to just say, thank you for your business this year. Here's a gift for the holidays, or we were thinking of you. It's just really nicely timed to say thank you for all your business. And then B clients, you might need to do some engagement reassessment on these, because, again, they're not quite perfect. There's just not enough wrong with them for us to want to disengage. So these are the clients that you're going to have to do a little bit more of an assessment on and say, do we need to recommend some changing in services here? Do we need to recommend some changing in prices, or some changing in, process and procedure and how we're doing the things that we're working with them on? And then C clients, you're just going to disengage. That is your list where you're just going to say, these are not clients that we want to continue with. And in order for us to take on more A and B clients, which we know are more beneficial for the firm without stressing out our team, we need to get rid of these C clients that are just taking up too much time and energy from everybody. So then that always follows with the question of, how do I tactfully disengage? Because we also don't want to be in this position of, we're disengaging with some clients I would really caution you to do this too close to the end of the year because it's not super beneficial to the client to having to be looking for another tax accountant as they're going into tax season. So try to start working on this process sooner rather than later. You want to give them plenty of notice so that it's just this professional step of saying, hey, we're going to let you know now so that you have time before your tax return is due to find someone else to do it for you. I would definitely recommend having an offboarding process, some type of a checklist, because you may not have ever done this before. And you definitely may not ever have been in a position where you have to disengage multiple clients at the same time. So, a nice checklist might be, initial communication coming from, manager or partner in the firm to make sure that the client understands the disengagement process, what's going to be happening next. Did we send them all of their documents back? Make sure that we're not continuing to retain anything that belongs to the client. Did we send them copies of their two most recent tax returns because they're going to need those? Like anything that is going to help you in the future for this client not having to come back and say, I need X, Y, and Z for you from you. Please send, these documents, or my new accountant's asking for this. So helping, you to have a smooth transition includes probably having an offboarding checklist where you can say, okay, all of these things were done. Extra bonus points if you have a checklist and have the client sign off on it to say, as of this date, I received all of these documents. And so now you have documentation that you've already provided existing copies for everything that you were responsible for. And you can see I also mentioned return documents. And really be careful with referrals. So, I sort of get this question a lot too, like, do you refer them to someone else? And I'm always like, I mean, I guess unless it's another practitioner that you really don't like, but I don't want to be the person that's known for sending like my C client referrals to someone. It's just I don't want somebody to do that to me unless you are very, very sure that like the reason you're disengaging is just maybe they're not a good fit for your practice. I don't know, maybe you work with like a lot of auto dealerships and you somehow ended up with some restaurant client that you don't want anymore, and they would otherwise be a great client, but they're just not a good fit for you. In that scenario, I would probably consider finding them someone that is just better fit. But if you've been fighting all year with somebody to give you documents or, pay you on time and those types of things, don't send that person to somewhere to someone else. So be careful with referral sources. And then this little image here is ChatGPT. So if you've attended any of my AI sessions, I always talk about ChatGPT and what it can do. If you haven't attended one yet, definitely put that session on your calendar for the next Future Forward, that first week of December. But ChatGPT is an amazing business writing tool. So this is just an image. It's pretty small, but I put it there as an example. I literally went into ChatGPT and I said, write me a client disengagement letter. You could be more specific and say, ChatGPT, I'm a tax practice. I'm disengaging with a tax client. Write me a disengagement letter specific to my practice. And it will give you this really beautiful professional letter that you can then just use as a template and modify to be customized and read sort of the way that you want to. So now you have this beautiful communication template that you can send out to clients that's worded really professionally and politely to help you in that disengagement process. Because I think that initial communication is something that really makes a lot of people uncomfortable, is like, well, what do I say? So try that. I think it's really it's super fast and it really does a good job of writing a tactful communication that you can then use as part of that opening to the conversation. So key things that I want to make sure that you take away and not kind of miss here is that you have this great opportunity to identify who your A clients are. You want to duplicate them. And A clients, like I said, are not going to be the majority of your client list most of the time. They're usually kind of harder to find because again, like we're just not going to love everybody. Not every engagement's going to be absolutely perfect. But if you have that avatar of like, okay, what are the qualities that all of our A clients have in common? What do we like most about them? Why are they an A client? That's sort of a secondary process that you can do outside of just this initial resorting of your client list. That's really going to help you, like I said, as you're moving forward. We're going to want to replace the revenue from those C clients that we disengaged with. We just want to replace it with revenue where we are getting more bang for our buck, right? It's less stressful, less cumbersome, and probably a client that's going to use more services. So what does that client look like? And that really will help you in the future to litmus test as you're looking at prospective clients in the future. Is this going to fit within these parameters of who we really want instead of us just taking everything that comes in the door? So that's the next point. What kind of work do we want and do we not want? This process always helps me identify where maybe during the year I've said yes to some things that now looking back, I would not say yes to again. We're definitely in this space right now. And I already have a few of my clients in the back of my head where I'm going, we're not doing this return again next year. They never got us documents on time. Now they're complaining that the tax return wasn't done on time. I know I had to chase them for money earlier in the year. So these are just clients that, I'm not going to repeat this tax return because you just took more energy than you should have for what we got paid. And so this process helps you to identify what types of things did we say yes to that we want to make sure we don't say yes to in the future. It really will highlight for you where scope creep is happening, especially when you look at that middle list. So when you look at those list of B clients, because remember, those are the ones where they're not absolutely perfect, but we're not going to disengage with them either. So if they're not absolutely perfect, we need to go through and assess those clients one at a time and say, well, why are they not an A client? And maybe they never will be. Maybe it's just the size of the client or their business that they're in, or what. There could be reasons why they're never going to be an A client, and that's perfectly fine. But you want to at least take the time to understand, is there a specific reason? Is it because we didn't price this engagement well and we're spending too much time on it? Is it because of this or this? And so it really gives you the opportunity to look at, where do we not have good boundaries around our, maintaining our scope of current engagement, or where do we need to maybe go back to some of those B clients and say, I think you need to add this service. Remember my recommendation to upsell from the beginning. I think you need to add this service. I think you'd be better served by it, or, we're going to readjust the price on this project. It can also help you to identify where you maybe need to like change your services a little. So, for example, if you're going through that list of B clients and the scope creep was similar on all of them, where they're all asking for tax planning type questions and consulting, and that was the scope, the most common scope creep, that's a really great opportunity for you to say, okay, well, we've got more than one client kind of asking for the similar type service that they're not getting or receiving, or I should say, not engaged for right now. That's an opportunity to highlight for you, where do we need to adjust our service offerings to make sure that we're meeting that common need. It can highlight a need for edits to engagement letters. So if a client didn't understand what they were and they weren't engaged for, or your team didn't understand what a client was and wasn't engaged for, that's a really great opportunity to reassess your engagement letters and say, okay, well, we weren't as clear as we wanted to be with this, and so we're going to kind of edit this wording for the future to make sure that the boundaries around our engagement services are clear to everybody. It can also help you identify what your team is like most excited about working on. So it will help show you especially when you're talking about that personality fit for all of these clients, it will really help show you what lights your team up from the inside out. And that could be a particular industry, it could be a particular type of client. And that gives you a lot of insight in terms of what motivates your team as well. And when they are excited about the work that they're doing, it's going to make seasons like busy season, tax season, easier for them, because they do have that personality motivation to be wanting to actually do the work. And then of course, where is your pricing off as well? Should we be billing hourly for something that we tried to flat fee? Did we just not quote enough? Is there a particular type of engagement where we always feel like we're having to raise the price on the client, and should we just reset that? So this process gives you a lot of ancillary knowledge. It's not just the opportunity to sort of get rid of some of those icky clients and make space for the new ones. It really gives you some insight into all of these other things that are super beneficial for your practice. So, in the interest of time, I think we talked about all of these at this point. You want to replicate your A clients, you want to tactfully disengage with your C clients, re-examine, your assessment process, and then consider pricing changes. So, with that, I will ask if there's any questions. You guys are so quiet today. So, hopefully, all of that was just perfectly clear and you're excited to go back and implement this growth strategy tool. I will also leave my contact information up for a minute as well. If you're thinking, if you have any last minute questions, that way, if you have anything that you think of, or I would love, love, love to hear from you. If you try this process, I would love to hear your feedback in terms of how it went for your firm as well. No question. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for being here.
Yeah,
And
everyone's really quiet today, huh?
very quiet. That's okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe everybody's mind is just blown. That's what I'll go with anyways. But thank you all for being here, and I will hopefully see you all next month.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Christine. Bye.
Bye.